Naruto is one of the most well-known and beloved anime that curated a whole generation of anime fans. It was the bridge that allowed many people to cross the gap from being a normal functioning human being to a zero-grass touching otaku. I am one of those said people. Naruto has a soft spot in my heart. It is extremely nostalgic not just to me, but for a plethora of anime fans. And once the Naruto series was nearing its end, Shonen Jump had to step in. They could not allow one of their cash cows to end right then and there. Kishimoto was pretty much held hostage by Shonen Jump and forced to sign a contractual obligation for them to use Naruto's IP to make a sequel, which was how Boruto was ultimately made. I know the title of this video says that Boruto is the most hated anime/manga sequel ever, but that's more clickbait than anything. Although there is some truth to it, I believe it is more polarizing and controversial. There is a clear divide within the Naruto fanbase on what they think of Boruto. One side very much dislikes Boruto, thinking it is inferior in every way to its predecessor and should have never been made. The other side very much enjoys Boruto for what it is and looks forward to what it has to offer. I was once a hater of Boruto, kind of unwarranted since I never watched or read the series besides the Boruto movie when it came out, so my only opinion was based on what others said online, which was that the anime is garbage, so I never actually gave it a chance. But one day I was curious because I heard that the manga was solid from quite a few people and I saw that it was currently only around 100 chapters, so my curiosity got the best of me and I dove straight into it, reading all 100 chapters within a few days, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a fun read. This is not me saying that Boruto is better than Naruto, not at all, it's not even close for me. There are aspects of Boruto that I like and others that I dislike, so I kind of want to go over the entirety of Boruto in this video to explain why some people love it and why some people hate it. So with Boruto, the premise and story basically is about following the next generation of kids coming from Naruto, and within the timeline the series takes place in is around 15 years into the future after the 4th Great Ninja War arc, where a lot of foreshadowing and detail is given in order to explain the plot of Boruto, like who is Kaguya, what is her background, where did she come from, why is the 10 Tails so important to her, what is her significance to the history of the Naruto world. And to give you guys a better insight on why certain events are occurring in Boruto, I have to first give you a rundown on how everything came to be. So here's a quick history lesson of the Naruto universe and how it all began. It all started around 1,000 years ago when both Kage Otsutsuki and Ishiki Otsutsuki landed on planet Earth with the plan in mind to cultivate a divine tree and harvest its chakra fruit. But in order for the divine tree to bear fruit, it must first be grown from the sapling, and that's where the 10 Tails comes into play as the role of the sapling. For it to fully grow into a divine tree, it must first consume an Otsutsuki. Seeing that there are only 2 of them, unfortunately for Kaguya, she was branded to be the sacrifice for the 10 Tails because of her position as a low-ranking member within the clan. Although, that's not how things turned out. She betrayed Ishiki and stabbed him in the back, wounding him to the brink of death. Nevertheless, with time on her hands while the tree is still growing, she lived among the humans to satisfy her curiosity of them, where she slowly started growing an attachment towards them. But that didn't last long because she was ultimately driven into consuming the chakra fruit due to an ongoing war. With her newly found powers, she casted the infinite Tsukiyomi, putting the entire human race under a genjutsu, which in her mind created peace. Although she still had some lingering attachments for the humans, so she released some of them, but erased their memories of what happened. And just shortly after, she then has twin sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, who both adopted the ability to control chakra from their mother, who ruled the lands with an iron fist, which many humans weren't a fan of, and those who rebelled against her she dealt with by annihilating them. This is what made Hagoromo and Hamura confront her, to which she responds with an all-out battle lasting for months, where ultimately Hagoromo and Hamura were able to overpower Kaguya and seal her. And that's all the information you really need to know to understand the story of Boruto, because if we fast forward to the start of Boruto without skipping a beat, the very next villain introduced is Momoshiki Otsutsuki, who is related to Kaguya, or at least from the same clan as her. He came to Earth to check up on how Kaguya and Ishiki were doing with cultivating the chakra fruit from the divine tree. This introduction is kind of similar to when Dragon Ball transitioned to Dragon Ball Z. Just let me know if this sounds familiar. Our main protagonist from the previous series has a son, and out of nowhere a random alien comes down to Earth to check up on the status of their comrades and how their mission is coming along, all for them to find out there seems to be no progress whatsoever. And now they make it their goal to complete the mission their comrades failed to finish, which our protagonists fight in order to stop them. The son also plays a pivotal role in defeating this new enemy. Although I'm making this comparison between these 2 sequels, only one of them is revered as an amazing plot twist. You guys have to understand that no one at the time saw this coming, even within the Dragon Ball fanbase. Akira Toriyama just dropped a surprise bomb out of nowhere with zero foreshadowing. Dragon Ball was basically a gag series. It follows a silly kid with a monkey tail that knows martial arts and likes to fight. Boruto feels like it tried to emulate what Dragon Ball Z did, but missed the mark completely. Granted, the series is still ongoing, so there's still time time for the story to marinate and develop even further. But as a fan of Naruto, I like the groundedness of the Naruto world where it was just ninjas with cool powers running around doing ranked missions. Now it's the entire ninja world battling against extraterrestrial beings. The scale of the world is heading towards astronomical levels. This goes into why I feel a lot of fans hate Boruto. I feel confident when I say this in that Naruto fans were not very fond of Kaguya coming in as the last villain. A lot of them felt that it should have ended with Madara. He was the overall better antagonist, well written with an amazing backstory, great presence and personality, and he was foreshadowed basically since the beginning. All for the writing to peace out on him at the very last second, revealing a Randy Orton level of a plot twist saying that it was Black Zetsu behind all of this since the dawn of time. And guess what? Kaguya was the one who created Black Zetsu, so it was actually her that plotted this all along. Like I said, not a lot of people like this portion of Naruto, so when the majority of the story in Boruto focuses solely on the Otsutsukis, it felt a little questionable. Not because it was the wrong thing to do, obviously they needed to flesh out what they recently introduced in Shippuden, but it's because it was one of Shippuden's lowlights. And it also doesn't help that the manga is a monthly release, pretty much making the plot progress very slowly, if at all. When the first Boruto movie came out, I had a certain perception of where they were taking the story, how they were probably going to focus on the transition from being a traditional ninja towards a more technological one, but I never thought scientific ninja tools were going to be used as body augmentations. I more so thought they were going to be tangible items. And this all started with the introduction to Kawaki, first by revealing more and more about the secret organization he was a part of. We find out the name of this organization is Kara, and that they're led by none other than Ishiki Otsutsuki, who is currently under the alias known as Jigen, or rather that's the name of the vessel that currently holds Ishiki. And the reason for this is because Ishiki needs a host to revive himself in after almost dying to Kaguya, but Jigen isn't a perfect vessel. If Ishiki revived in Jigen's body, then he would die in a couple of days because the body won't be able to handle the amount of chakra he possesses. That's where Kawaki comes in as the perfect match, being able to handle Ishiki's karma. And a karma is an Otsutsuki's biological data that can be compressed into a seal onto any compatible vessel. It's pretty much an extremely large file that downloads very slowly, and when it hits 100%, the Otsutsuki who planted the karma is able to revive and take over whoever they planted their karma in. Ishiki did this to many individuals trying to find a suitable vessel, but the majority of them perished besides two of them, one being Kawaki and the other being Code. But he had a white karma, making him an unsuitable vessel for Ishiki. And during this time, Kawaki was treated very poorly by Code as well as Jigen, which caused him to grow resentment towards the karma and the Otsutsukis. When he ultimately decided to escape from Kara, he was found by Konoha and was treated with a type of kindness he's never experienced before by Naruto. This will be a pivotal moment within the series, causing Kawaki to make very poor choices in the future. But before I dive into that, I want to talk about another important character within Kara, and that would be Amato. He's a technological genius who is able to single-handedly create cyborgs combined with an Otsutsuki's powers that exceeded that of Jigen himself. And to give you an idea of how strong Jigen is, he was able to defeat both Naruto and Sasuke pretty easily. You also didn't hear me wrong when I said there is someone with the capabilities to create cyborgs that can rival that strength. So the majority of the scientific aspects in the series went towards these cyborgs, all having their own individual personalities, but they were pretty dull and underwhelming. So not only are they one-dimensional as characters, but they're also extremely strong, which can be a bad combination when trying to make compelling villains. And when you do a one-to-one comparison to another villain group that Naruto has shown, it becomes more of a glaring issue. With the Akatsuki, each one of them has a certain trait about them that makes them interesting and has a viewer gravitate towards them, whether it's their personality, background story, or combat abilities. The Kara members don't really have any of that, and the fact that someone artificially made their strength and abilities makes it even worse. This leads into a power scaling issue where the only people that are able to fight them on an equal footing are Naruto and Sasuke, making the majority of the side characters more and more insignificant. But even with the characters in Boruto having lackluster development, at this point in the story, I was still intrigued on what direction they were taking the series in. I mean, even after the defeat of Ishiki, there were still problems that needed to be resolved and new ones that were arising. One of the main ongoing issues is that Boruto has a karma implanted by Momoshiki during their battle, and the karma is almost fully complete, which will cause Momoshiki to fully revive. But that's not the only issue. Remember when I mentioned Naruto treated Kawaki with an extreme kindness, that of which he's never experienced before? Well, Kawaki grew an insane attachment for Naruto, one that he would do anything to protect him no matter what. Even killing Boruto was not out of the question because of his karma now making him a threat to Naruto, and that's exactly what he did, or at least tried to do, even against the wishes of Naruto. I mean, I know why he made the choices he made, but it was kinda out of the blue. In the end, I think everything turned out fine when the manga sequel came out, which is when I started to be more invested in the story. Before I talk about what I like about it, there's still a topic I want to mention, and that's the power system in Naruto. It had a lot more potential in my opinion. This is a portion of Naruto that could have been more prominent or expanded upon in Boruto, but they went towards a different path. I think that's one of the more disappointing aspects of Boruto. Naruto's power system isn't spoken at the same level as Hunter x Hunter, but the complexity that it has and the sheer amount of diversity that it brings makes it one of the more compelling aspects in Naruto. The way chakra natures work in combination with ninjutsu is pretty awesome. The best and probably the only example I can think of when someone trained to improve a jutsu is Naruto combining the Rasengan with his wind chakra nature to create the Rasen Shuriken. There was so much creativity that could have gone into this, but it was never expanded upon further in the series. And I think it's because the majority of the jutsus used already have a chakra nature imbued in them, like Fireball Jutsu with a fire chakra nature or Chidori with a lightning chakra nature, while the Rasengan is just a ball of chakra without a nature property in it. This is just the basics of ninjutsus. There are many other subclasses like medical, sensory, sealing, reincarnation, etc. But there's also instances of chakra being imbued into weapons, and just like the Rasen Shuriken, you're able to imbue a chakra nature into a weapon, similar to when Sasuke added his lightning chakra nature into his sword. And to add another layer of intricacy to the power system, there's also Kekkei Genkais. They're DNA anomalies that allow users to handle unique techniques. There are three general types of Kekkei Genkais. One is dojutsus, which are unique eyes with special perceptive abilities. Two is body manipulation, the ability to use one's own body in unique ways. And three is advanced nature transformation, combining two basic chakra natures into creating a new one. And there's an even more advanced version of the Kekkei Genkai called the Kekkei Tota. The only known example is Inoki using particle style jutsus combining three chakra natures, earth, wind, and fire. I also haven't even mentioned the two other aspects of the power system, which are Genjutsu and Taijutsu. Genjutsu is a sensory attack onto your target, creating illusions and tricking their body into experiencing physical sensations like pain. And to perform one onto your target, you must pour your chakra into them, which can be done through a dojutsu like the Sharingan with eye contact, or through direct physical contact, or via sound. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have Taijutsu, which is just simply hand-to-hand combat. It requires no chakra, so basically all shinobi uses it, but only a couple of them use it as their primary fight style, like Rock Lee and Mike Guy. They train and perfect many of their taijutsu techniques like Leaf Hurricane and Primary Lotus, even having the capabilities to open their 8 inner gates, boosting their overall physical strength and speed. So why did I give you the whole gist of the power system for Naruto? Well, the point I'm trying to make is that in Boruto they kind of throw it all out the window with how they handled scientific advancements. It's kind of like a cheat code, skipping all the necessary steps to become a full-fledged shinobi. Granted, the majority of the scientific tools don't play a significant role in the story. Rather, it's the body modifications from scientific advancements that make individuals stronger than they actually are. But I like the portion of Naruto where characters trained for weeks on end and finally showed off the fruits of their labor. That's why Rock Lee was one of my favorite characters, everything from his flashback all the way to the most iconic moment in the series. I mean, even Naruto doing rigorous training to learn the Rasengan and finally pulling it off in a fight was very rewarding to watch. All for Boruto to learn that jutsu within a few days just seems insane to me. This sort of had a similar feeling to when Avatar: The Last Airbender transitioned to The Legend of Korra, where many people knew how to use lightning bending with little to no effort. It kinda diminishes a lot of what I like about Naruto, which is the hard work and dedication they put into getting stronger. So far, I've only been negative about Boruto, so what do I like about Boruto? Why have I kept up with this series? The first reason why I've kept up with Boruto is just curiosity. I want to know where they're taking the story, even after mentioning that the plot is kind of lackluster. I'm looking at it from a rose-tinted lens. I came into the series with a point of view that it was going to be trash. Throughout the pre-time skip, there were certain scenes I couldn't help but laugh at, but the more I read, the more I couldn't stop reading. I don't know why, I think it just became a guilty pleasure of mine. And in a flash, I read all 80 chapters, making it to the post-time skip where my interest reached its peak. Boruto and Sarada became more compelling as characters due to the situation they were put in and how they individually handled it. Ada, another cyborg Amato created, found Kawaki after his attempt to kill Boruto and offered to help him during his escape. With her omnipotence ability, she subconsciously caused Kawaki's desires to come true, switching everyone's memories of Boruto's history with Kawaki's, basically swapping their lives with one another, causing the Leaf Village to betray Boruto, chasing him away and branding him as a traitor instead of Kawaki. Only a few individuals retained their memories, and one of them being Sarada. The Leaf Village turning on Boruto was such a traumatic experience for her that she was able to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan, and this was the only reason why Sasuke believed her cry for help, asking him to help Boruto escape, which they successfully did. And throughout the 2 to 3 years from the aftermath, Sasuke has been training Boruto, and on Sarada's end, she stood 10 toes down trying to convince everyone that Boruto is innocent, but no one pays her any mind, making her carry the burden of knowing the truth of what actually actually happened. This brings us to the newest manga series for Boruto, which is 2 Blue Vortex. We see that Boruto becomes extremely strong in just 2 years, and it's not only because of Sasuke's training, but also with the help of Kashin Koji. He was another member of Kara created by Amato using the DNA of Jiraiya, and after the Otsutsuki's power that Amato implanted in him awakened after a near-death experience fighting Jigen, he was able to foresee the future through multiple timelines. With this ability, he was able to map out a plan to train Boruto in a way that drastically improved his overall strength in a short period of time. The villains to me are more intriguing comparatively to the ones in Kara. They have a similar upbringing to the Chimera Ants from Hunter x Hunter, where they are both newly sentient beings, and now they're trying to figure out how to navigate their newly found feelings and emotions from their innate instincts. The story is also slowly starting to involve more of the other villages, which I'm a fan of, and I believe good things will come, but only time will tell. So is Boruto the most hated anime/manga sequel ever? Yeah, maybe, but is it the worst? No, far from it. There are other sequels out there that are definitely much worse in every single category than Boruto. There's a few I could think of off the top of my head, one being 7 Deadly Sins Season 3, Tokyo Ghoul Season 2, and Promised Neverland Season 2. I think Boruto just has big shoes to fill, and it also betrayed the trust of many OG Naruto fans, which you can tell from this manga sales chart for Boruto slowly declining over time. And hopefully for all the Boruto fans out there, it doesn't end abruptly like many other Shonen Jump series.